Good morning, it is Monday morning. This is technically week 8, day 1 of our participation in our Sling TSI build. Our Sling TSI is all painted, looking beautiful. It's been demasked, all the masking tape and paper and everything's been pulled off the airplane. Casey's buttoning up just a couple things on the airplane before we move it. It's just outside of the little masking tent that's inside the paint hangar, and actually the same hangar where we started this whole process. So right behind the camera is actually all the wings and control surfaces. This is the hangar that we worked in with Bill, starting to build all the ailerons, flaps. He's working on an elevator for another plane there right now. So going from this hangar, then we were in the other hangar working on engine stuff, firewall, forward, cabin controls, and then now the airplane came back into this hangar, got painted while we were gone, and it's finished right here, mostly pulled out of the tent while Casey finishes a couple things on it, and we're about to tow it around this hangar complex to the other side to the finishing hangar. This week is going to be all about avionics. Steve and Adam from Midwest Panel Builders get in later today, and tomorrow morning we're starting to install the avionics and their big custom wiring harness that they made for this airplane.
I have actually never met Steve and Adam, but Josh got to go visit them in Michigan at the Midwest Panel Builders headquarters. Last year, Josh and I installed a GI 275 engine monitor in my 1966 Cessna 150. I wouldn't have been able to complete that project without the product that Steve and Adam have built and designed and provide to many different aircraft owners and maintenance shops literally around the world.
Perfect, thank you. All right, so we've got a few more things we'll need to get on here before they get here, Midwest. Probably the heavy lines. That's the oxygen generator. So we're gonna need to put that on there. We should probably do that as soon as possible because we're gonna have to put the cherry picker on the engine.
This is the Monkworks 14 volt. Used to be a skateboard motor, but
And he milled and fabricated this whole thing.
He designed it in CAD. So instead of having a big alternator, that's our generator.
Because we need more power.
So we have too many toys.
So here is our external alternator, and it's on this mount that Heinrich engineered and built and milled and designed in CAD and then printed certain parts of it and everything. It's just really impressive. It looks like everything has good clearance and good tolerance. We did have to remove a few of the pieces that we had secured here, but you know, we have plenty of slack to work with, and so we'll just reroute certain things and clean this all up again. Cables, cords, wires, hoses, and everything that comes through here, so that's not an issue at all. The mount is currently sitting perfectly aligned with the engine here, so the bolt is already in on this side. You just can't see it. And this piece is not solid all the way through. It's very meaty and has good structure, but it's not all the way solid. But the bolt head is right back here, and it's already been pushed in almost all the way through. So everything's lining up really well. So we're just gonna tap this bolt through right here. That's an attachment point. You can see maybe right here, this is where the bolt comes out, and it just goes all the way through this area. And then on the top is kind of similar, except the bolt comes the other direction. We'll see. This is the first Sling TSI and or 916 that has this. This is a one of a kind. That's why it's experimental, right? So there will be a belt that runs right here and then down, and it's actually going to be driven right off of the back of the engine. No,
it's all about the angle of the dangle.
The dangle is angling. But we hooked this up for the external alternator right here. It all fit perfectly.
Oh, it looks
everything
great.
Lined up. We've already retorqued it, and then there's torque seal. I mean, it was not even a wrestle.
Wrestle in Kentucky means wrestle. Casey and I are kind of sorting out where we're gonna put the voltage regulator for the auxiliary generator. Basically, we're gonna put the regulator for that generator right here on the motor mount, right next to regulator B for the Rotax electrical system. We moved a couple of the pieces of the wiring harness around. We're gonna have that go behind the motor mount, and I'm actually loosening the Adele clamps that are holding regulator B onto the motor mount, and I'm gonna scoot it over just a little bit. We just have to kind of watch to make sure it's not gonna get in the way of the shunt. I'm like over here looking for the tools to do that. Turn around and y'all are already doing it. We have the auxiliary generator installed. Chelsea and Casey did that while I was at lunch. We just installed the Monkworks voltage regulator, which is the voltage regulator for that DC generator. They're grabbing some different screws. We're gonna just replace a couple screws with some different sizes, capture a little bit more of the threads on those, and then we're getting ready to install the heavy gauge battery cables. We're just kind of getting things at a good spot to where when Midwest gets here tomorrow morning, when we arrive with them too, we're gonna be ready to hit the ground running on all the electrical stuff, and the fuselage and everything will be cleaned out, ready to go for the whole wiring harness to go in. We are calling it a wrap on this Monday afternoon. This is week 8, day 1 of our participation in the Build Assist program for our Sling TSI. And tomorrow morning, which will be Tuesday, Steve and Adam from Midwest Panel Builders are gonna meet us here at the Build Center, and we're gonna crack open this box and this crate, which contains all of our avionics, all of the LRUs, the Garmin equipment, all of the hardware that they built for the LRU rack, including the wiring harness for the entire airplane. That's sort of split, all that equipment's split between these two boxes. We cleaned up the interior of the cabin, got metal shavings, little rivet tails, little leftover bits of stuff, and of course some dust from just being in the maintenance and paint hangers. Got all of that out of the cabin, cleaned it up. We took care of a couple little squawks. We swapped some screws out on some hardware on the Firewall, just to some sized fasteners that are gonna be a little bit more desirable. And then we started installing a few things. They were installing the Monkworks DC generator that's actually going to be belt driven off the back of the engine. So that got installed on the back side of the motor. We did like a couple little odds and ends here and there, just buttoning up and rerouting a couple little things on the Firewall. Then the next big task was to install the heavy gauge battery cables. It's not really fastened in place yet. That's gonna happen when Steve and Adam from Midwest Panel Builders are here so that we can do that with them. It's all gonna be done in the order that they know it needs to be done in. They are absolute experts when it comes to installing this stuff. It's a little bit of a cooler day here in Southern California. It's beautiful, partly cloudy. We're gonna head home here in just a few minutes. Steve and Adam will be here tomorrow. I'm really excited that we're gonna get to spend this week, all this week, working with them to install what I think is my favorite part of this build, and that's gonna be the avionics. I feel like that's where all the customized creature comforts of your airplane start to come together and the dots get connected. And by the end of the week, hopefully, if everything goes as planned, we're gonna be flipping on the master switch and booting up all of the avionics. We're gonna see this airplane light up. I think this is the first rainy day we've actually ever had participating in this build. So it's a rainy morning. Steve and Adam got into town last night, and we're gonna hit the ground running this morning, right about 9 a.m. when we get there, and start laying wiring harnesses in the airplane and everything. Probably gonna be a little bit longer of a day today, so we opted to bring Millie to the airport with us. So it's take your dog to work day. But that's what's on the agenda for today. We're starting the process of avionics, and we're gonna meet Steve and Adam from Midwest Panel Builders at the airplane factory here in just a few minutes. It's week 8, day 2.
Yeah, so we've got these perimeter holes that go all the way around that rivet the doubler on. These bottom ones that I'm doing, we actually aren't going to rivet those until the shelf goes in, because we've got these little notches on either side that mark the footprint of the shelf. So we rivet those on the bottom, and then you'll see later we've got these side pieces that come down, and they brace the front of the shelf to the top of the doubler.
This is your engine ECU. So what happened is, so the factory used to put those on the back of that bulkhead, but it would be really, really hard to get to later. So what we ended up doing is coming up with a way to mount it to the bottom of the rack. So that the rack will go in like this, pointing towards the engine area. If you ever had to get to it, you just undo it from the bottom. The bulkhead that is in there, it would have been on the back side of it here, so you'd have to try to reach up and around to get to it. So by putting it on the bottom of our rack, that's a much easier spot.
All right, we have a couple of time-lapse cameras going, one up in the mezzanine up there and one inside the cabin of the airplane to hopefully capture the visual change that's gonna happen over the course of today. Steve and Adam are over here just doing their thing. They're prepping everything. Adam was mounting the doubler that's gonna eventually hold the LRU rack, and it stiffens the bulkhead that's already in the airplane. And then Steve is assembling some components that are actually gonna go on the rack there. So they're tag teaming it, going to work, doing their thing, and getting everything prepped to start going in this airplane. And one thing I really appreciate about these guys at Midwest Panel Builders is they are always paying attention to problems that customers have, owners have, the builders have here at the facility, and they are constantly adapting, changing the design, changing the configuration to make things easier to maintain in the future, easier to swap out, easier to access, etc. We're starting work here on this very rainy day here in Southern California. It's off and on rain. We brought the dog so we don't have to worry about getting home at a certain time.
She's here. I'm not sure how much she's gonna enjoy today, but it's got to be better than staring out our window that has no view at home.
Yeah, we usually leave the TV on for her when we leave her at the apartment so there's noise, but I don't think she understands the language that's spoken in the Andy Griffith Show or whatever we leave on.
So by far, the engine portion of the airplane, you've probably heard me say it 100 times, is my favorite part. I feel like it's the heart of the airplane, but what's happening today is the brains of the airplane. It's the human interface. It's how we're gonna interact with the aircraft and how the aircraft is gonna help us interact with the world. So it's really exciting to see this portion of it come together, and knowing that by the end of the week, the plane will not just feel like a piece of machinery, but it will come alive for the first time.
So this is what we call our audio box. We're gonna have the GMA 245 audio panel. We're gonna have the GTR 205 XR on here, and then we have the transponder. So it makes it one nice little compact unit that we can stick in there and keep everything together.
So this is what we refer to as the floor harness. So this is gonna have everything from the shelf that is inside the plane back up to the luggage compartment rib. So it's going to cover all of your headset jacks, your wing connectors for lights and camera. We've got tail connections for trim and light back there. We've got flaps. We've got autopilot servos, a couple other things. Oh, GHA 15's on here somewhere as well. So we just call it the floor harness because it kind of covers the floor area mostly. And then we've got these big boy connectors up here that mate this up to the rack harness, which we'll install in probably tomorrow, and then that's pretty much it. We've got a couple connectors that have to get depinned before I can run this through the fuselage.
All right.
So I'll give you that,
All right.
and then let me reach over here and grab a screwdriver. So this is the rack side. The way that we usually do things, anything that has two of them, number one is on the left side, number two is on the right side. So we always refer to the wing one, wing two.
Okay.
Grip one, grip two. That's just kind of how we do it.
Yeah.
So these are pretty simple. These are front release pins. So we'll just put the depinning tool on the front and then push down on that plunger. And then what we do here is we just take apart the strain relief. And these just twist off.
Okay.
And then sometimes you can work around it, but it's usually best if you just take this tape and get rid of it.
Okay.
Because we can always put more on. And then, yeah, just push onto the pin from the front and push the plunger.
Is that right?
Yeah, here, I'll show you how I do it. So I usually just push it in and then just, without bending the hell out of it, just push on the, there we go.
Oh,
here,
okay.
Here it's snapped in, then you can just push that one.
Got it.
So the wing spar, you know, it kind of has like a channel in the middle,
Yep.
and it kind of looks like a T. So we run those through the middle channel of the wing spar. So the connectors are just too bulky to make it through. So that's why we depin them.
Are these basically like, are these a Molex style? Or are they, I guess they're a little different.
In a way, I guess you could, they're kind of like that. So, I mean, they're barrel style pins like Molex are. I would argue these are a much higher quality than that. Really, Molex, the pins aren't the issue, the connector is the problem.
Right.
Those things are a pain. These are called CPCs, which is just circular plastic connector, very imaginative. But these are made by TE, and you see them in like Cessna, like newer Cessnas a lot. So.
Yeah. Do you want me to take this off
Yes.
and keep them together? Okay.
Yep. And then all of the wires have, at least on the grips, we have the actual diagram wire number on these.
Okay.
And then we also have the plain English labels on here.
Okay.
And with the grip ones, what we did is, because the grip ones, you can kind of mess with those depending on how you set up your grips and all that.
Right.
So we put these with the pin numbers on them.
Okay.
So when it's time to repin that, it'll be easy to
Gotcha.
find it.
Cool.
You're making me nervous.
You make me nervous.
So this is the main floor harness. That's right. This is called the floor harness, right?
Yes.
Okay, floor harness is going in. We just depinned a lot of those circular plastic connectors, CPC connectors, that need to pass through some like bulkhead pass-through holes and all that kind of stuff. So we depinned those, Chelsea and I, and Adam's about to drop that in the plane, and then he is going to start routing things. I was going to say we. It's going to be him, and I'm going to be learning as he goes. So it's gone in.
This area here, particularly that spot, can be a bit of a pain to work through. So what I'll do is I like to take these Milwaukee batteries.
You're going to
run the motor.
Run the flat motor.
It's all 12 volts. Maybe I had it right the first time. There we go. Okay, so I'll get about halfway, because then I can reach my hand on the front side there and
Gotcha.
kind of help feed things through. And I can actually remove this for now and get it out of the way. We don't need that. The way that this is going to look, the front end here, we're going to take this and kind of run it up through the front there. And then I get these wing pieces routed through the spars. And then this back area here is where the bulkhead connectors go. And then we've got a metal plate that goes on the front that screws all that together.
Nice. Okay.
Just another 3D printed component.
It's not rocket science, but you got to know a thing or two about rockets and science.
Nah, we're just small-time aerospace. Rockets aren't a part of our...
That's right.
Although it is fun when people say, what type of company are you? And you get to say aerospace and defense.
Yeah, aerospace and defense.
So you ever heard of Sling? No? That's right.
Yeah. You would think that's the sound of bubble wrap popping, but those are actually his knuckles.
Yeah. Arthritis at age 30. Can't wait. There we go. And then as we're running through, we just kind of watch the rudder cables and make sure that we're not intertwining with those.
It is so cool that all this stuff is so modular. This was built on the other side of the country, well, nearly, up in Michigan. They've made all of this stuff in their facility, and they have all the numbers. They've done slings so many times that they can come here with everything pre-built and just drop it straight into the plane, and it fits perfectly. It fits through all the little bulkhead holes. They know exactly what needs to be disassembled to fit it through this and that. Nice, modular.
So now we're going to get these wing components through. This part gets a little bit annoying too, because I got to fit. So this gap here in the spar, you can imagine how that
Yeah.
gets to be a bit tight.
Is this out of PET G with carbon fiber?
Yes.
Nice.
Depending on what we're doing, we like to use either nylon or PET G. Nylon for anything in hot areas like the firewall.
Okay.
But what's nice about PET G is it's very ductile, so
Okay.
you're not worried about stress. These here, by the way, are your camera power and ground wires,
Oh, nice. Okay.
and this is your fuel level sensor.
Cool.
I think, matter of fact, yeah, we got camera power back there too.
Sweet.
And we have USB power back there, in addition to the camera.
Okay. All right, Adam is wrestling around with all of this in the airplane. He said he's going to have to birth another baby, and that is...
And the baby is birthed.
Oh, the baby's birth?
Congratulations, it's a boy.
So that is where a lot of the wires that are, or actually all the wires that are going to be going into the wing come out. And then the rest of the holes are for plumbing, fuel, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so your fuel is coming out up here behind this. These two holes are for fuel, and then this hole is for your aileron tube. And then on the pilot side, these are your pitot and AOA holes.
AOA hole.
What'd you just call me? The baby has been not only birthed, but put in its home. So those are in place now. I get to turn around, and we're gonna route through the back side here. Your ELT connector and your buzzer. So that's the one thing that goes that way. Everything else goes this way.
Cool.
And of course, for anybody watching who's probably screaming right now, yes, we will be putting chafe protection around these holes for these wires.
So here I got to put connectors on the wing so that we can mate it up to the harness that's being installed by Adam right now.
So what did you do in the automotive industry originally?
I did hybrid systems for Toyota. I was repair and diagnosis of hybrid systems. So I've had a lot of experience with electrical. And
Did you ever think you'd transfer that electrical stuff to aviation?
no, not at the time, but you know, actually, it's funny because Adam's the one that got me really back into aviation. You know, young teenager, he started getting into the flight sim stuff. So then we went and built a whole 737 cockpit in the basement.
Really?
Yeah, everything was functioning. I think I showed you the photo.
I think you did, yeah.
And I mean, everything was modeled, everything. Then I went on to do my instrument commercial and then CFI. Right, you know, that really inspired me. But that project was kind of the catalyst because there's so much wiring that had to be done. So that was really kind of what started everything. And I have photos of him as, you know, just I think he was maybe 13 or 14 at the time, wiring all that up.
So your headset jacks are going to come up through the floor over there and go along that back rib.
Out those 2 holes.
Yeah, and then we actually have to end up putting a third one in for the limo. We got your GHA wire here. That's going to go between the 2 rudder springs on the back side. There's where that goes. Basically just put connectors back together at this point. Harness is more or less in place. I say more or less because we still got some tying to do, and I got to reorganize a couple of these things to clean it up.
So are they going to get, is the harness going to get tied to one side or the other?
What we do is we actually pick up the rudder cable, and then we'll take like some Adele clamps and attach them to the side piece.
Okay.
And that holds it all away from the torque tube for the pitch. And then along this side, we like to do all the coax, because 5 or 6 coax is basically the size of that bundle of wire. So we keep them separate, and then up here they converge and then go up as one to the front. I don't like to totally secure everything until we're sure everything's in, because like if there's any considerations that we're going to have to make for cameras or anything, we want to do that now.
All right, so far it's just a lot of minutia going on. Steve is working on the wing roots, on the actual wings that are on the other side of the hangar, and he is pinning and attaching connectors to the end of the wiring harness that's coming out of the wings, and that's actually done in the factory. I believe that's done in South Africa. So the wings already have wires going through them before they get here to the airplane factory in California. So he's pinning and adding connectors to those wires that are for pitot heat, the AOA mast, lights, all that kind of stuff. And then of course we added heavy gauge, I think 16 gauge, shielded 2-core cables through both wings, and that's for camera power. So he's pinning and adding connectors to that too. Meanwhile, Adam is inside the fuselage of the airplane, repinning the connectors that Chelsea and I just depinned, because now he's passed them through the holes they need to go through. He's adding connectors back onto those, and he's just kind of like doing his thing, slowly going through it, putting everything back together. And pretty soon we'll see what the next step is going to be. Probably going to be after lunch. It's 11:30 right now, still drizzling, still gray and gloomy here in Southern California, but it's so cool to see this stuff going in. The new instrument panel sitting right there on the crate, and everything is starting to come together on the electrical side of this airplane. I'll take a quick moment too to plug Sling Pilot Academy. That is actually not, we're 1 row over from them. We've been looking at them the whole time, but now we're over on the finishing side of the hangars. Sling Pilot Academy is right over here. Not too much flying going on today because it's so gloomy and rainy and everything. But Sling Pilot Academy is an amazing flight school. It's a Part 141, and it's a fantastic vibe. You walk through the common area at Sling Pilot Academy and it feels like a college student center. Everybody's just jazzed to be there. Everybody's doing ground with their CFIs. Students are excited to be there, attend ground school, and get ready for their next lesson. It's an awesome place to learn how to fly, and you can get $1,000 off your full-time pilot training course if you use referral code Aviation101 on your enrollment form or your scholarship application. Both of those are linked down below. If you come in with your private pilot certificate already done, it's a 6-month course. If you are starting with 0 flight time, it's a 9-month course. There are open slots, and they are taking enrollment for their November class. And if you want to get $1,000 off your full-time pilot training course, use that referral code Aviation101 on your enrollment form or your scholarship application. Link to both of those are down below. I think we're getting to a stopping point. Steve and Adam have kind of gotten done what they want to get done on the preliminary process of laying the harness. Steve has gotten everything pinned and connected on the wing roots, and I think it is about lunchtime. So we're gonna go grab some food. We're gonna come back, regroup, and tackle the second phase of today on this gloomy, rainy Tuesday in Torrance, California. All right, so you're terminating the harnesses, pinning, and adding connectors over here, right?
So on the quick build, it already comes with the harnesses in. So we can either, in most cases for the home builder, we'll just supply a pigtail that they can solder to, because the crimpers for this stuff is pretty expensive. But if they want, we can give them the pins if they want to purchase crimpers and then crimp them on like we're doing, so that it's one solid piece, right? We're just crimping it right on. But if this was not a quick build and it was a kit build, then we could provide a whole harness that goes through the wing that already has the connector on it. And then that way it can just mate up with the harness that Adam's putting in right now. But on yours, we're just going to go ahead and clip the pins on since we're here to do it.
Okay, we are back from lunch, and Steve and Adam just kind of dove right back into it, and Adam started putting the LRU rack, or the LRU shelf, into the airplane, which is actually going to go behind the instrument panel. You don't really see that from the vantage point of the pilot, but it's what houses all of the brains of the entire setup. So you have the G3X touch screens that are actually on the panel, and of course you have the 750 on this configuration too. All of the boxes that are doing the real work behind the scenes are mounted behind the panel, and that's what Adam just dropped in there. He's going to get a couple more parts across the way, and Steve's in back buttoning up a little bit of wiring. Yeah, so that's pretty much what's going to be next, is routing coax cables, but moving right along. Going to continue dropping the wiring harnesses in and connecting everything up, pinning everything out, which is exactly what they're going through here.
So what I'm doing right now is getting the brace for the LRU rack installed. So we brace it against this channel here. You can see I've kind of got it mocked up. So all I have to do at this point is mark my location on the channel. And then I got to pop holes down there and riv nut, and then just put it all together. And then I'll end up riveting these next. That'll be installed, and then the very next thing I'm going to do is get the connectors on the floor harness mounted in their slots, and then after that all of the avionics are going to start getting mounted. So by the end of today we should have most of the avionics mounted, probably most of this harness in place too.
Fantastic. So this is where those CPC assemblies go?
Yeah, so this half is all of the RH connectors, rack to harness. Over on this side is our PR connectors, panel to rack. This side will be this harness down here, and then the rack harness will have these connectors on it. And then when the panel comes in, they clip onto those and connect up at that point, which means that the panel can be removed. I don't know, if you had something that you had to get at back there, it can be kind of handy. I mean, the panel's got like 25 screws on it, so it's not something that we necessarily think people are going to be doing often, but avionics upgrades will happen eventually. So we want to be prepared for the guy that 20 years down the road as much as 20 minutes down the road.
All right, both backup batteries installed.
Here's the GDL. And the screws are all in there. You just gotta remove those 4 screws and then put this guy in.
This is a Garmin GDL 51R, and it's the same thing we have in 80991, and that's gonna be the Sirius XM receiver.
And then this here, I'm gonna lay there. That goes here, so that's your number 1 AHRS.
Okay.
The number 2 unit is gonna live on the back of the MFD.
Okay. All right, this is the Garmin GEA24. This is basically what's going to translate all of the data from all the engine sensors and transducers, all that kind of stuff, into data that will then go to the G3X to display all the engine monitor information. So that's what this box does. Installing a bunch of the Garmin boxes here. This is actually the Garmin GEA24, which takes all of the data from the engine sensors, transducers, everything firewall forward, and translates it into data that the G3X can interpret and then display for the pilot. This is the same box that we put in your Cessna 150. Right beneath it is the Garmin GDL Data Link 51R. It's the same thing we have in the Skyhawk that translates all of the Sirius XM data into something the G3X can use. This is ADAHRS number 1. And I'm going to screw that in here in just a second, and then ADAHRS number 2 will be on the back of one of the Garmin display units. And then these are 2 big backup batteries for the system. And then we're going to keep putting it all together. There's going to be a bunch of other stuff on this side. Lots of little components to make these systems work, but it's all modular too, which is cool. All right, cool. Yeah, I love how that stacks, and you can get to all the connectors so easily.
Yeah, and then over here, you've got the GCO41, but sometimes we do the Aether Shield, so that'll go there. Actually, you'll be the first GCO that we have.
Oh, really?
They only just started shipping them when you got yours.
All right, Adam actually stepped away from the project for a few minutes to go troubleshoot a transponder on this Tech-NAM, and Chelsea is continuing to screw in some different connectors onto the LRU rack, LRU shelf. And Steve back here is installing the COM1, the top COM antenna. That's what he's installing there. Chelsea's screwing in connectors, and it's coming together. It's past 3:30, so everybody at the airplane factory, went home, so this hangar row got way quieter. But that's when it's kind of nice to work. Everything's calming down, quiet. We kind of have the place to ourselves, but making some good visual progress today. That LRU rack looks really nice in there with everything so neatly stacked and organized. You're really utilizing the space, the tight space that's behind the panel of this airplane really nicely. And of course, this is what they do. This is what Midwest Panel Builders does. They figure out how to make everything fit, make it super user-friendly, ergonomic, maintenance-friendly, makes the installation so nice when it comes to utilizing their modular design during the installation process.
Probably a good way of mounting that right in there. Sure. Actually, up just a little bit, like right there.
So Steve is removing the oil tank right now to install the little fuse box that actually, when I was at their facility in Michigan, he showed it to me. It was sitting on his desk, and that's what they had designed to combat the change in design that came from South Africa with the heat exchange box that we have on the Firewall that eliminated the space that they at one time had to mount a bigger fuse bus or a bigger breaker bus that was going to go on the Firewall. So they kind of whittled down and simplified the design so that now it's just a two circuit fuse, right? So on this airplane, it's just gonna be 2 fuses, and he's got a spot in mind, but to install it and drill the holes and prep it and everything, he's taking the oil tank off just to get it out of the way.
Oh.
This one you can just
All right, this one next. All right, what all did we accomplish today?
Well, we got the floor harness installed, we got the LRU rack installed, most of the avionics. We've got this half to finish. Of course, the harnessing for the rack is on as well. So tomorrow we're gonna get this half complete, get a couple zip ties in to hold things in place. Then we're gonna run Coax, angle of attack and pitot lines from the aft end of the airplane, then secure all of the wiring and the pitot-static in the middle of the aircraft down the center channel.
And I'll get the firewall forward done.
And how did we do today?
We did good.
Did we get as much done as you thought we would?
Yes. We will be powering up on Thursday.
Powering up Thursday.
Fantastic.
Josh instantly had a smile.
Perfect. Well, we called it an afternoon, well, really an evening. This is the latest we've ever left after a day working at the airplane factory, and that's largely attributed to the fact that we brought Millie with us today. That really helped relieve our stress of trying to get out of there at a certain time so that she doesn't have to be by herself for 8-9 hours at a time. A lot of great visual progress today. Steve and Adam are awesome to work with. They're so patient in explaining things. Anytime we have a question, they'll just explain what this means, what that component's for, how this is hooked up. And I just, once again, just like I was back in June when I went to their facility in Michigan, I'm greatly admiring how meticulously they assemble these modular systems to just be plug and play. From the floor harness to the tail harness, all the way to the rack and to the panel. Everything is so modular, you can unplug stuff, replace stuff. It's so nice and beautifully organized. So we kind of stepped through all of that stuff today. Steve was kind of off by himself doing a lot of the, I guess what I would consider some tedious stuff. He was stripping wires, pinning them, getting them ready to receive connectors. Actually, a pretty funny shot I got today was him on his knees under the empennage of the plane with his arm up in a tiny hole. And you could see from the back of the plane him trying to get the magnetometer mounted. It's amazing getting to see this process and be a part of this process, not only to log it as the builder, but also witness how this stuff comes together, plugs in together, and that helps you as a pilot to troubleshoot this stuff later. Steve and Adam are pretty confident. Tomorrow will be Wednesday, and on Thursday, they think we're going to be very comfortably at a point where we're putting power to the panel and all the avionics, and we're booting everything up for the first time. But for now, we're calling it an evening, heading back to our little temporary home at the end of week 8, day 2. Good morning. It is the morning of Wednesday, October 15th. This is week 8, day 3 of our Sling TSI build. And at the moment, Adam is working on installing antennas on the roof of the airplane. And then of course we have the VHF navigation antennas, which are basically the VOR antennas or for VHF navigation. So that's at the top of the tail, which is not installed right now, but he added coax connectors onto the end of those cables, and that's basically ready to all get hooked up. So what Adam's working on right now is installing GPS and Sirius XM antennas onto the roof of the airplane. So today it's going to be more avionics work, more stuff inside the airplane. Steve's working on some firewall forward stuff, and Adam right now is working on those antennas.
So this is on yours. We got a little bit going on here. So I'm going to put the fuse block in this channel here, but what I'm concerned about is where the wire is going to come into it. I don't want it hitting this channel here. So we're going to make a block and have them 3D print it real quick to lift this off of that channel just a little bit.
And what kind of material do you want that 3D printed?
Well, hopefully like a PETG CF or something like that. It's more heat resistant to be in this area, so that should work just fine. This won't get too hot here. If I was a little closer here, I might be concerned, so something like that should work just fine. Probably recognize that from the GI-275 install.
I do. So you said it's way easier to do the cables like this. What way are you referring to?
Well, it's just because there's less cables, I should say, going around. So I'm gonna, from here, I'll put one to the generator and one to the inside. And then that way the generator can backfeed through to the battery. We upped them to 60 amps now, so we got a lot more power available inside. We tried to not do that for a long time, just to keep the power there. The cable size is small. Everybody's putting so much stuff on these planes now. We have to give them more power.
So the one that I'm screwing in right now is a dual element antenna. So it's going to cover the G3X display, the GDU's internal GPS, and also the Sirius XM receiver will connect to this. And then the one up front is going to be your GTN's last GPS antenna. So this one in front of my face is going to be the GHA-15, and then back here is where we put COM2, and then the transponder is going to go somewhere in this area here. So your ELT, what we'll end up doing is mounting it from underneath. So we put rivets in here, and it holds the plate down onto the skin.
This is the COM2 antenna. COM1 antenna is on top of the fuselage. And then pretty soon we're going to move on to this antenna that's closer to the front of the airplane, which is the Garmin height advisor. So this is the unit that gives height feedback as a radar altimeter. So when you're landing, you get the whole 100, 50, 40, 30, that kind of thing. That comes from this guy. This is an RTX 345, our ELT, emergency locator transmitter.
One thing that you're going to want to do is get a picture.
We have to register it.
Yeah, this data tag.
Okay.
And then you just register to your tail number.
Cool. Register it to the tail number, my social security number, blood type, political affiliation.
Left kidney.
Left kidney, yeah. Right pinky toe. So that's COM2 antenna and Garmin height advisor. And that little blade is the transponder, right?
Yes.
Transponder antenna, we already put that one on.
That's it.
So when you put it on, now I'm going to be on the outside pushing a screw through.
Okay.
You're going to push it up against the firewall, then I'll push a screw through, and then what I'll do is I'll grab onto that and hold it against the firewall, and then you need to put a nut and a washer on the backside.
Okay.
And then once we get them all on, then you can put that in there, and then I'll use the screwdriver from the front to tighten it.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, the socket.
Okay.
Well, we call them the RE, which is rack to engine, but it's going to give us the wires for the master, for the shunt, for the fuel pressure, things like that. So I have to put them on this side so I can start wiring things up. And then we'll have to probably wench you out of there. It's hard to get out of there. We'll have to put strap around and pull you up.
Tie something around your ankle.
There we go.
Okay. Oh, got it?
Yeah, did it come out? Okay, no.
No, it's okay.
Okay, I got it.
Okay.
Find your way out.
Do not need the jaws of life.
So rack to engine, those will go on the firewall, and then it has the X3 done already, and then the other wires will have to hook up on the firewall side.
And then that's ELT transponder.
Yeah. And then
What hooks up to the height advisor?
these wires here, connector put on.
I got
So
you.
that's power ground and CAN and that. It's actually the real term cannon plug.
Okay.
You know, everybody likes to use it kind of, as, you know, oh, I'm going to Google this, but no, it's a legitimate cannon plug. So that's why it's not on there, because it's actually quite bulky. I mean, it's every bit the diameter of this piece and then some. So getting it through these ribs is kind of impossible otherwise. So what we do is run the wires right through that little hole there, and then we put the connector on and get it down there, and it keeps it out of the rudder cables.
Gotcha.
So we got the Coax run through the aircraft. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just very loosely tying up the harness and the Coax and the pitot-static through the center section so that everything stays in place as I manipulate it, because this will start getting cut down to size and all that. So what I'm trying to avoid is me pulling this too much and causing strain elsewhere, and also at the same time having to cut things 3 times until I get the right length. So then we'll be completing the Coax. We've got the pitot-static pretty much done, so this is going to the secondary unit, so we're just leaving that over here. We got this side of the rack installed finally, so now we'll just be terminating these ends onto all the units, doing some zip tie work over here and getting wiring harnesses secured up here. And then we will be getting very, very close to being ready to apply power.
The fuse box and the shunt come together over here nicely.
Yep, everything's coming together good. Tidy it up. Now I just gotta get power to the inside and we'll be good. And then this actually has a light that'll flash, because that's the one thing it said in here is keep this on the contactor side that's powering up, because it would draw power from there. So as long as the master's on, we have it on this side. If we turn the master off, it kills power to this, what you want. Otherwise this could drain your battery down.
Okay.
Steve's still working on some Firewall forward stuff. Finished up the shunt and the main fuse bus, and right now he's working on hooking up the voltage regulator for the aux generator. We're not getting an air conditioner on this airplane, but we are having the same auxiliary generator to supplement power to our main bus. I believe Adam is going to get back in the airplane here in a minute and continue working on coax cables, so antenna cables, getting all those buttoned up with their connectors, and then bundling cables together. So we're about 3:30 in the afternoon on this Wednesday. We're going to keep working for another couple hours. We're going to see what we can do to help these guys, but not get too much in their way. We want to learn, we want to be aware of how these systems are put in, and we want to get that hands-on experience working on this stuff too. But we also don't want to get in the way of the experts here. We're so grateful to have these guys working on this system with us, and we get to see them install this amazing modular product that they built all the way over in Michigan, put it on a bench, hooked it up, and turned it on to make sure everything works perfectly and is perfectly configured. Then they disassemble it, pack it, ship it over here. They airline out here and hook it all back up in this airplane. And hopefully tomorrow it'll boot up just like it did at their shop in Michigan.
Okay, well that's it. We got the whole Firewall 4 done except for I just got to get one power wire to the inside, which Adam will have to help me with as soon as he's done with coax. Today out here, we got the 2 fuses mounted. We ended up 3D printing a piece to lift it off the rail a little bit so that our wires wouldn't get close to it. We'll secure this with a standoff as soon as we get this mounted. We've got the wires running out to the X3 underneath on the fuse box here. We got the Monk Works all wired in and ready. And then we got the fuel pressure, that's all wired in. We got our wires to the side of regulator A. This has to get tightened down yet, so we'll do that tomorrow when I get a 7mm socket. This is for the heat valve that opens and closes. And then we've got the new sensor. This is what the wire's for. We're going to be offering that sensor that allows you to see the position of that. Because like I was saying before, with a cable style, you can see where the cable's positioned to know how much your valve's open. With the switch, you don't see that. So we're putting a sensor in so that we can actually see what that position is. So that's what these will be for, which we'll send later. We'll go over those the switchology there so that you know what has to happen at, you know, if in the event of power failures or stuff like that, and how we wire things so that it'll help you. So understanding that will help you if you ever run into a problem. So we'll show you that before we leave.
So this is the plate that'll hold y'all's the bulkhead connectors, right?
Correct. Because there used to be a smaller hole similar to this, and then we would just drill the holes for the connector, but they opened it up like this one here, just to pass them through, but we still like the bulkhead to connect them. So we make these little pieces here, and then we make a template that goes in so you can drill your holes, keep everything centered.
readdress the other issue eventually?
And for reference, that is on the wing root, where their connector will connect to the wing harness, so that if the wing needs to come off ever in the future, it just unplugs right there.
Yeah, we're just getting tight into our tie-down points on the rack. Big thing in the middle here is keeping enough clearance for these connectors to go down. This area ends up being a little bit of a challenge sometimes, but we'll be able to make that work.
What the hard part about this is right now, I'm just holding the flashlight, but he's actually looking at his diagram up here, and let me know if you need me to move the light somewhere else. He's looking at his diagram in the binder, comparing numbers that he sees in the diagram to numbers that are on the pins and on the back of the connector. So he's inserting pins into the correct positions on the circular connector.
They have a bunch of sanding drums.
And is it like fitting a windshield where you fit it, pull it, trim it?
Well, no, so here, yes, it would be that way if I didn't cut this. This is your outline, so we put that in and then we cut around it, and then your panel will fit.
Doesn't go in the plane, it's just
No, this is just to cut that out. I used to do it that way. I'd mark it, cut, and all that, and it took forever, and I just did this, go around it, and it just fits right in. So we got the shunt mounted and wired. We got the battery contactor. We got the Monkworks generator all done. We got our fuses in. We got our grounds to the regulator A. All the battery cables done. Again, we just got to get this one done. This goes to the inside, and it'll come off the 60 there. So about this time tomorrow, we'll be turning it on.
It is 5:30 in the afternoon. We're calling it a wrap on today. This is week 8, day 3 of our Sling TSI build. Steve and Adam from Midwest Panel Builders absolutely busted their butts today, running a bunch of wires, pitot-static and angle of attack lines, running all the coax cables through the airplane, which goes to all the various antennas that are mounted across the airplane, like ELT, VHF navigation, 2 comm antennas, transponder, Garmin height advisor, of course Sirius XM on the roof, as well as WAAS GPS. Lots of different components getting hooked up today. So with that, we're calling it a day. They're packing up tools, kind of cleaning up, organizing their stuff, and this time tomorrow, hopefully, we're gonna be flipping on the master switch and watching this airplane come to life. It's incredible to see that just a few days ago, this was a lifeless shell with a dead engine hung on the front, and now it has a neural system hooked up to it. All of these electrical wires connecting every component. This airplane is coming to life, and I'm so excited to see it light up tomorrow, to see everything come alive. We may have a little bit of troubleshooting, but knock on wood, if everything is just as it was when they tested it in Michigan, we'll have no faults and everything will be perfect. So it's 5:30 in the afternoon. We're calling it quits on week 8, day 3 of our Sling TSI build at the airplane factory right here in beautiful Torrance, California.
And even then.
Good morning. It is week 8, day 4. It's a Thursday morning, and today is Boot Up the Avionics Day. Adam and Steve are already working on stuff in the airplane. Adam is continuing to button up some wiring harnesses on the rack and going through the floor of the airplane just to kind of make everything nice and neat. I think it's going to be a good day. We're going to see a lot of visual progress today on the airplane. I have a couple of time-lapse cameras going because we're going to see a lot happen, and we're going to see the instrument panel and the glare shield ultimately come together on this airplane. So we're going to step in the hangar, see what they're both up to, and see what the process is going to look like today leading up to booting up the instrument panel for the first time in the airplane here in Torrance, California.
So on that particular panel, we have all the holes, and we know exactly what the rear footprints look like. So then we take that, overlay it onto an identical piece, and then we just do the outline to where everything's going to be.
Okay.
Right? So the holes will all be the same.
So this template isn't just for like every single plane? You
No,
do it
it's per.
Okay.
Yeah. Each person has one a little bit different.
Yeah.
Because see, like this little notch here is for that light right there. And
And
again,
then how is cutting this? Because it's composite,
not-
but then
yeah.
it has the leather. Does it get like...
It does, and so after I trim this, I'll use a little cutoff wheel with a Milwaukee, battery operated die grinder, and then I come through with a blade and just cut the little bit of leather off.
You explained it to me and showed it to me, but I didn't fully grasp what
that
this
is.
piece was for until seeing it now.
Yeah, I
That's
agree
great.
with that.
Well, and it used to be, like I was explaining to Chelsea, this used to be like 1 inch all the way around. So we had to trim so much of this, it was horrible. But the later versions now, Sling's kind of understood how things are done. So a lot of this stuff is already pre-trimmed. So we don't have as much to clean up as we once did, which is great.
Giving it a trial fit.
Yep, see, fits nice.
That is beautiful.
But now look and see all the space we have for a USB there.
Oh yeah, okay.
So right here is the GAD 29, so I'd want to keep a little forward of that.
All right, for me at least, this is a bit of a pivotal moment. Steve is drilling the hole for the USB-C power supply that's going to go in the glare shield to power the camera and the cooling fan that will go in the glare shield. And then we're going to put another one of these little milled aluminum dovetail mounts up there for a hard point for a camera. It's going to be so solid, so nice to have these mounts and power everything right there. So he's drilling that hole right now. Point of no return. We can't change our mind now. Fantastic. USB power.
There it is.
Wonderful. Panel and the glare shield's going in. They're hooking up the Garmin, the GAD 29 on top of the GTN 750, so they have to get all that stuff hooked up so the actual equipment can go in there so they can boot everything up.
Which one is this?
It doesn't matter which one is which, but we're going to put this into the pilot side.
We got a Garmin logo. So there were a couple faults when you booted everything up?
Yeah, just a couple little normal. You run into a couple gremlins the first time every time.
And you guys have to be rather efficient at process of elimination, yeah?
I mean, you know, we obviously know the systems that we build. So, like when something like that happens, it's a relatively quick process to narrow down what's going on.
So in order for that to boot up, you have to turn on the Avionics master.
So the way that we do it is the EFIS backup switch is the first on, last off. When this is on and the Avionics master is off, this will run off of the batteries, which is good for engine start. And then after the engine starts and we get the Rotex generator charging, so over on the electrical page here, we've got 8 battery amps. So when that goes in the positive range, then we turn on the Avionics switch, and then now everything switches over to running from bus power. The reason we do it that way is because when we're flying, if there was a charging system failure, we can turn off the Avionics master switch and shed that load immediately. And by doing that, we're running off of the backup batteries. Those run for an hour and 15 minutes. So we're running off of that. We're saving the main battery to either run the engine if we need it to, or if it's nighttime and you need lights, you're saving it for that, or your pitot heat, or flaps, what have you. We also run the electric pitch trim off of the backup batteries too, because there is no manual trim.
Okay, so it's the height advisor.
Something probably just got put over a slot, so we'll just get that fixed and then keep on trucking.
Cool. And then the backlighting's working now?
Yeah, so if we flip the nav switch here, you can see the lights come on. One thing about the G3X that's nice is we can, so the lane lights are on right now, and I believe it's probably because the ambient temperature sensor is unplugged, but we can go into, so with the engine page open, if we hit menu, FADEC information, ambient pressure, ambient temperature, sensor faults, and it's both on lane A and lane B. So you save a lot of time diagnosing these engines because that's all available to you on here now. It used to be configuration mode only, and then a couple years ago Garmin finally brought it back onto the pilot side. Make sure everything's working, and then we'll get back to the GHA, solve that, and get it plugged in.
Sweet. Never unboxed a G3X before. I know, it's an unboxing YouTube channel.
This is Merry Christmas to us for the next 10 years.
GTN 750 XI. Wow. Got a Garmin logo.
Oh wow. Has this one got more megapixels than last year's model?
Yes.
It's got the A19 processor now.
Wow, I love how quickly it boots up. That's amazing.
We're communicating. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Wow, that's a quick boot up.
Yeah. And we can go here, and we can see that the GTX is communicating. We got a serial number, so it's actually talking.
We need one more. So can you go grab one more autopilot servo?
Really 101 Alpha Victor on 8 flight away right now.
Did you hear what he said?
What'd you say?
So we've got a GPS signal on the 750 right now, which means that the transponder is working, and actually you can see traffic on the display here. So we know that all the antenna connections are good. So if you go on your favorite flight tracking app or EFB app, then 101 Alpha Victor should be on right now.
There it is.
Got it?
101 Alpha Victor.
Nice.
It is alive.
Okay, so the pre-flight test in the Red X went away. So I should be able to kick on the flight director, and then there's your servos, and then they disengage. If I hit go around, you can see it goes to takeoff mode, and the bar is being hidden by the message right now, but the pitch command bar did go up to 5 degrees. We can test on the GTN. We'll put it into config mode in a bit, and then we'll look and make sure that that input's still working to the GTN, and then we'll go into config mode on everything and just double check the communications between the devices right after we get the GHA online. Set up for VR localizer. Every once in a while, like after a software update or something, this switches to high speed on its own, and we have to switch it back. It causes an error on the G3X, so we just make sure that that's correctly set. And then in navigation features, I make sure that we have mark on target enabled and radius to fixed procedure legs. And then under, or also lateral acceleration compensation. So that looks at turn radius and stuff and gives you that compensation on flyby waypoints. And then under VNAV, the max descent, I like to program that in at about 1500. Because if it's going any more than that in a piston, like that's a really heavy descent. We don't do Smart Glide on the GTN in experimental. It's on the G3X in experimental. So that is going to be in contrast to your 172.
Yes.
So when you hit Smart Glide, it'll come up here. The GTN will actually have no idea that Smart Glide's happening. But you can still do your 7700, tune your 121.5, all that stuff will be on there. And speaking of, I go over here, I go to engine and airframe, and we have glide activate there, so I'll just make sure that it works, and it does. I also like to go to aircraft. I like to make sure that we have the takeoff safe altitude. So that's, if you remember when we flew Mike Whiskey, when it said takeoff altitude, that's what that setting is. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hide the IBBS voltages.
Okay.
Because in my opinion, main volts and battery amps are more important than that.
Right.
Because the IBBS voltages, you shouldn't care unless you're on them. And when you're on them, you'll get alerted if they start getting low. I like it.
Yeah, looks beautiful. He just rearranged some of the EIS stuff to make what's visible immediately on the PFD and MFD make more sense.
It was disastrous. I never want to come back, and I'm actually considering quitting my job. So no, overall it was great. You know, got the end result and everything's working good. So we're confident that now, as we leave, as they finish up the rest of the aircraft, hopefully the next phone call we get is after the first flight and everything goes well.
So everything went very good. You know, the fact that we pre-test them, you know, at the shop ahead of time gives us a lot more confidence that everything's going to be good. But there's always that chance that somebody could pin something wrong, or you know, you could get caught up on an edge and break a wire or something. So, but no, everything went great. When you reveal it, I think everybody will agree that it looks great.
They told us as soon as they arrived that by Thursday they would be firing everything up, and that's just mind-blowing. And here we are Thursday afternoon, everything's alive, everything's working, everything's been tested. It's gonna be a pleasure and a joy to fly behind, and it was wonderful working with Steve and Adam. They are world-class at what they do. It's just nice seeing the level of expertise and competence and attention to detail all come together. It was a wonderful week. I'm so grateful that Steve and Adam of Midwest Panel Builders had the opportunity to not only be a part of this project, a big part of this project, but they actually got to come here and work shoulder to shoulder with us in person. That is a huge milestone of completion in this Sling TSI build. So I'm just so grateful for them and excited to do some more work with them in the future.
And just like that, we've reached the end of the week and we've seen our airplane go from an empty, lifeless shell to a lit up, technically advanced aircraft with a complex neural network all through it. The way Midwest Panel Builders does avionics is truly a remarkable process. And on top of that, it's awesome that it's a father and son team. Steve came from the automotive industry, Adam got into flight simulators. They combined their interests and expertise to build a massive 737 simulator at home. And from there, their skills and experience built. And now they are among the best in the world when it comes to building out avionics for experimental aircraft. I would argue that they are the best in the world. Such an awesome process, and it's very inspiring to see these guys work. I personally love electronics. I've always loved electronics ever since I was a kid. We're so honored to be partnered with Garmin to outfit this airplane for the missions that we're going to be tackling in this airplane. Lots of long cross country, lots of IFR, and we are over the moon happy to be partnered with a company so prestigious as Midwest Panel Builders. So with all of that, that is a wrap on week 8. This was day 4 of week 8. We're not going to go into day 5 because actually tomorrow, Chelsea and I are going to be hopping in a Sling TSI as a solo trip, just the two of us. We're gonna fly up to Utah, kind of close to St. George for a Rotax fly-in. So that's where we're going tomorrow, and that'll be exciting because it's gonna be our first trip, just the two of us in a Sling. There will be 2 other airplanes going from the airplane factory. One of them is gonna be a Sling TSI equipped with a Rotax 915, and the other will be the Sling High Wing, which is the other one that we flew to BC. That trip was ultimately the trip that made us decide on the Sling TSI. So if you haven't seen those videos, I'll link them down below so you can check them out. That was a really fun series to film. So with that, this is a conclusion of week 8 of our participation in our Sling TSI build here in Torrance, California. Don't forget that referral code AVIATION101 if you want $1,000 off your full-time pilot training course at Sling Pilot Academy here in Torrance, California. They also have a location in Long Beach, Santa Monica, and San Diego. Use referral code AVIATION101 on your enrollment form or your scholarship application to get $1,000 off your full-time pilot training course. Link to those are down below. Until next time, you know the drill. We want you to stay happy and healthy, stay current in your flying, but most importantly, stay proficient. If you train hard, you'll fly easy. We'll see you in the next video. Fly safe.